All right, welcome. Today we're going on a super fast-paced journey through thousands of years of technology to explore the incredible history of weaponry.
So you gotta ask, how did we get from wooden shields all the way to pilotless drones? Well, it's definitely not a straight line. You have to think of it more like a constant cycle of action and reaction. See, for every new weapon, someone creates a new defense. And for every new defense, someone invents an even newer weapon to beat it. It's this non-stop arms race that has literally shaped human history.
Way back, fighting was, well, it was up close and personal. Forget long-range anything. Your survival depended completely on what you could hold in your hands. Okay, so the first real piece of defensive tech was the shield. We're talking simple stuff, made from wood or animal hide. It was just enough to stop a basic club or a spear. But if your shield broke, you were in serious trouble. And as attacking weapons like swords and axes got way sharper and stronger, a simple piece of wood just wasn't going to cut it anymore. And that's where personal protection had to evolve. The ultimate defense became plate armor. Think of it like a personal, wearable fortress made of solid steel. Now, it was incredibly heavy, weighing around 50 pounds, which is like carrying a big dog around on your body, but it could stop swords and arrows like nothing else. For centuries, the knight in shining armor was pretty much the king of the battlefield.
And then, this one chemical invention arrives from China, and it's about to completely rewrite the rules of war. It's going to make all that expensive, heavy armor almost useless, practically overnight.
And here's the absolute game changer. No matter how thick or perfectly crafted your steel armor was, it was no match for the incredible force of a tiny lead ball fired by gunpowder. Just like that, the age of the armored knight was basically over.
This invention just flipped the entire strategy of battle on its head. Being a walking tank was out. Now, survival was all about being fast, keeping your distance, and using cover. The whole focus shifted from defense to offense.
But these early guns were not easy to use. I mean, loading a musket was this slow, super complicated process. You had to pour the powder, drop the ball in, pack it down, prime the whole thing, and then finally fire. And you had to do all of that while the enemy was trying to do the exact same thing to you. It took a ton of training and unbelievable discipline.
3. That's it. A really well-trained soldier could maybe get off 3 shots a minute. And because of that incredibly slow rate of fire, armies had to come up with a new tactic. They'd stand in these long lines and all fire at once, just to create a kind of wall of lead.
All right, let's fast forward a bit to the 19th century. The Industrial Revolution is kicking into high gear, and factories are pumping out everything, including weapons. And this mass production leads to way deadlier and much more precise designs.
One of the most important innovations from this time was something called rifling. It's actually pretty simple. You just cut these spiral grooves on the inside of a gun barrel. What this does is it makes the bullet spin as it flies out. It's literally the same principle as a quarterback throwing a perfect spiral with a football. That spin makes the bullet fly straighter, farther, and way more accurately.
So you can see the problem, right? With every single soldier now carrying a rifle that could accurately hit a target from hundreds of yards away, that old tactic of standing in a nice, neat line, yeah, that just became a death sentence. Warfare had to completely change, again.
And then, things got even crazier. The machine gun arrived, and it could fire over 600 rounds a minute. To put that into perspective, one machine gun had more firepower than a whole company of 200 musket soldiers firing for that same minute. The amount of firepower was just unimaginable. With that kind of devastating power, charging across an open field was, well, it was impossible. The only way you could possibly survive was to dig down into the earth, and this led directly to the brutal, grinding stalemate of trench warfare that we saw in World War I.
So you've got this massive problem, trench warfare. You can't go through the enemy lines, so what do? Well, you invent new machines that can go over them, fly above them, and even sneak under the battlefield.
On land, the answer was the tank. I mean, it was literally a moving fortress on tracks. It could roll right over trenches and barbed wire, all while protecting its crew from that constant machine gun fire. It was the perfect package of mobility, protection, and firepower.
At the exact same time, war takes to the skies. The airplane was first used just to see what the enemy was up to, for scouting. But it very quickly evolved into a fighting machine with guns and bombs.
All of a sudden, controlling the sky became one of the most important parts of any battle.
And, you guessed it, the fight went underwater too. Submarines could sneak up on these gigantic warships, totally hidden from sight, and sink them with self-propelled torpedoes. This new underwater threat changed naval warfare forever.
Okay, and that brings us all the way up to the modern era. And this is where things get really different. The most powerful weapon isn't just about how big the explosion is anymore. It's about how smart it is. You see, today's warfare is dominated by data. You have satellites in space acting as eyes in the sky. You have computers and GPS guiding missiles with such pinpoint accuracy, they can hit a specific window on a building from hundreds of miles away. The focus is less on huge armies clashing and more on surgical, precise strikes. And maybe nothing shows this shift better than the drone, an unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV. What's so revolutionary is that it completely separates the pilot from the plane. This removes the immediate risk to a human pilot, allowing a single person in a control room, maybe on the other side of the world, to carry out surveillance or even attacks.
And believe me, the evolution is not stopping. On the ground, we already use small robots to handle incredibly dangerous jobs, like disarming bombs. The next big frontier is artificial intelligence, basically developing AI to help these machines analyze situations and maybe even make critical decisions on their own. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you see this absolutely insane acceleration. I mean, we went from shields to gunpowder over thousands of years, but from gunpowder to rifles to tanks to jets and now to drones, the pace of change has gotten faster and faster and faster.
And this all leads to one kind of mind-blowing final question. We've seen technology move from protecting the human to replacing the human's muscle with machines to removing the human from the danger zone completely. So, where does that trend lead? As weapons get smarter and smarter, you have to wonder, does the battlefield of the future have any humans on it at all?